Hey guys, welcome back to another Spy Family Sunday. I am here to review chapter 98 of Spy Family. Again, if you're liking the content here, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get into the video. We are continuing the backstory of Henry and Martha. So chapter 98 starts off with Martha and Henry talking in what I'm assuming is the teacher's lounge. Martha is asking Henry, hey, shouldn't you still be in university? Henry's like, you shouldn't address a teacher by their first name, but they're friends, so I'm assuming Martha is not concerned about formalities. Henry goes on to say that, due to the shortage of teachers because of the war, they cut the program by half a year. So they're listening to the radio. There's somebody on the radio who's really angry, talking about wiping out the devils, and Henry turns the radio off because he feels that it's not helping and it just spreads hate. So he turns it off while they're talking. And Martha makes a comment about how Henry hasn't changed and vice versa. Martha points out that, hey, I have changed. I'm an Imperial Scholar. He's telling her congratulations. She tells Henry that she still continues the Tea Party tradition, even though she rarely goes herself. And so they decide to have a cup of tea. They're talking and catching up. And Martha's sort of narrating that it feels like the old days, even though it was in the briefest of moments. She'll come to realize later on. And so Henry is in the hallway. There's some kind of drill that's going on, and he's telling the kids to go to the shelter, and not to dawdle, even though this is drill. And while they're in the shelter, some of the kids are talking about, did you hear that a school in Tundria got bombed? And then some of the other kids are talking about, they've been doing human experimentation, and basically just all of these sort of horror stories about war. Martha's with Henry, and she's like, hey, did you become a teacher because you knew that you would be exempt from the draft? And this is important because in my last video I was thinking maybe both of them got drafted to go to the war, but it turns out that teachers are not exempt from being drafted, they're just deferred. So in essence, Henry can still be drafted to the war. Henry is saying that even some of his relatives are accusing him of becoming a teacher just so that he could avoid having to go to war. Of course, we know that Henry is very passionate about teaching, and it turns out that he was mandated to teach physics instead of history, which is what he wants to do. And Henry goes on to say that he believes that it may be that education is powerless, with the backdrop of this war going on. And so it flashes to another scene where Martha and some of her friends are reading through the paper, and it turns out the ballet studio where Martha used to dance was targeted. Several of the members were killed, including the principal ballerina, this woman named Joanna. Martha's having a crisis. She's afraid of losing everything that's important to her, and that she's losing faith in being able to trust that things will be there forever. And so she's crying about this. Henry finds her at their tea spot, and he holds her while she's crying. We move on to another scene, and it turns out that my theory about Martha was right. She joins the military, and Henry is just flabbergasted by this. He's like, why would you do this? You could be killed. What is wrong with you? And he's yelling, and he's doing all of these things that are not elegant. Martha is just the ballet company is going to be disbanded, and my dream is going along with that. Martha's like, I'm joining the army because I want to fight back. I don't want to lose everything that's important to me. I don't want to lose you, I don't want to lose anything else. And of course, Henry's being kind of stubborn about this. He's like, I don't ever recall asking you to protect me. And Martha's like, you just don't get it. And so they're having a fight about morals and their beliefs. And, Martha's gonna do what she does. So she joins the military. Henry has some time to sort of think about it. He doubles down on his education because he truly believes that is the path. Through education, we can stop this. And slowly but surely, he starts to realize that it wasn't education that was powerless. It's Henry put all of his energy behind education because he comes to realize that in the end he was the one that was powerless. And so he's essentially hiding behind the guise rise of education. Even though he believes in it, he understands that this is all that I can do because I am powerless. And so there's this really haunting panel where they used to sit and drink tea, and like one of the chairs is turned over, the grass is sort of unkept, and so it just symbolizes that nobody's been there for a while. And so I don't know what it was about this panel, but I found it like really sad while reading it. And so Martha's walking down the hallway and she happens to overhear Henry talking with another faculty member about the war, and one of the other teachers is like, you know, if you're the eldest son in the family, you should really think about getting married before we find ourselves on the front lines. And Henry's like, yeah, my parents have really been pushing this idea of marriage on me lately. You know, of course Martha overhears that and she runs outside, she's crying, she's like, I don't know what to do. It's very obvious that she is in love with Henry, she has feelings for him, and there's another couple that's, you know, talking overhead because it's the end of the year and there's a graduation dance, and, you know, they're talking about going to the dance together, and this sort of gives Martha this push that she needs to just be honest about how she feels. And so at the dance, she shows up in full military uniform and she's like, Henry, may I please have this dance? And so they're dancing. Henry's pretty bad at it. He's sort of fumbling and stumbling, and she's like, oh, you're not very good at dancing, are you? And he's like, well, I mean, I took lessons, but you know, there's only so much I can do. Martha sort of starts laughing and she's like, oh, how inelegant. You know, it makes him blush a little bit, and, you know, they're having this like little back and forth. It's really cute. And Henry goes on to apologize for pushing his ideals onto her. You know, she's like, you're overthinking this. You know, it's fine. And so they're dancing, and Martha feels like this is an appropriate time to finally be honest with Henry. And so she's about to sort of confess her feelings for him. And then you see all of these sort of like clang, 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 clang sounds on the panels, which symbolizes that something is going down. So I don't know if this is like bells going off, like, hey, we're about to be bombed, like enemy forces are coming, but she stops mid-sentence in the middle of her confession, and that's, you know, how the chapter ends, and both of them are sort of looking horrified. Things are definitely getting very intense. I'm excited for the next chapter because I don't really know what to expect. I don't know if Martha's gonna like dive into action. I don't know if enemy troops are invading. I don't know what's gonna happen at the school. I don't know what's going to happen to Henry. I don't know how Henry and Martha sort of get separated. But this was a great chapter. Lots of world building. If there's anything that Endo Sensei is really good at, it's world building. And I know that everybody was really wanting to continue with what was going on with Damien and Anya, and you know, we will get back to that. There's no way Endo's just going to drop that storyline. But there's a reason he's with Martha and Henry right now. Maybe this backstory is going to lead into something that's significant when we finally get back to Damien and Anya. But I just think that this is important information, considering Twilight's current mission to stop a war from igniting again. I feel like it's appropriate for us to know how bad it was at the start. So I am looking forward to the next chapter to see what happens with these two characters. So I have no complaints about this chapter. I felt like the pacing was great, and I'm excited for the next chapter. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to my review of chapter 98 of Spy Family. And until next time, remember to be awesome and stay true.